How many of us knew exactly what we intended to do with our life when we were kids? Well, when I was 17 and a senior in high school, I thought I had it all figured out. I planned to go to Columbia University in New York and get both a rigorous academic experience while also training to be a professional ballerina. I remember the exact day that that plan got derailed. It was a sunny day in April, and I just finished track practice. I'd started into the routine of calling home every day to see what college acceptance letters had arrived in the mail. On that particular day when I called, my mom was so excited to tell me that Columbia had arrived. I asked her if the envelope was big or small, and when she told me the envelope was small, I immediately started crying. My mom urged me to hurry home and open the envelope myself, but I knew in that moment that my professional dance career had ended before it ever started. I went to Cornell, not Columbia, and I continued to dance, albeit not professionally. My ballet teacher at Cornell began each class with a brief yoga practice. Ballet introduced me to yoga, and yoga ultimately introduced me to myself. Through yoga, I developed the self-awareness that set me down the path to discover my true life intention. Most of us are moving through life on autopilot. We're going through the motions, giving little attention to the behaviors we take every day and the moments that we're collecting. From the time we're very young, we're set on a racetrack of timed milestones that we should precisely hit at every turn if we're doing life right. From play dates to driving, going off to college, getting your first job, getting married, then having children, then ultimately moving into your 4-bedroom home with your 2-car garage in the suburbs, and most importantly, feeling happy. The goals and accompanying timeline are set for us by the cultural norms and values of the society we live in. We are in an achievement-oriented, productivity-driven society. The ability to meet goals and accomplish things makes us feel proud and valuable and worthy. But it's never enough. We're rarely in the now, and we're constantly seeking the next best thing. We're surrounded by messages to do more, faster, bigger, better. My own life has certainly fallen subject to this at times. Study, get good grades, participate in sports and extracurricular activities, go to college, then grad school, then more school, and the cycle has continued. And in the process of working tirelessly to stay on track, I've often been an anxious and neurotic wreck. Rarely, if ever, did I stop to ask myself what my true intention was and how my goals and everyday behaviors aligned with that intention. Since I couldn't become a dancer, I did the next best thing and became a psychologist. I was living in Ann Arbor, doing a postdoctoral fellowship in psychology, and in the midst of a breakup, when yoga found me again. I'd studied enough psychology at this point to appreciate the importance of self-care and scheduling positive behaviors. So I made an intentional decision to start going to yoga. I'd been wanting to get back into it for a while, and now seemed as good a time as any, as Ann Arbor is hardly a town known for its bustling nightlife. In the therapy world, it is commonly held that the interactions that play out in the context of the therapy space are a microcosm of how people behave in the real world. The same can also be said for yoga. The anxieties and frustrations of the real world often play out on the mat, and the awareness and intentionality that's cultivated on the mat can be taken back into real life. When I enter the yoga studio, I roll out my mat and I sit down in my designated space in the front corner of the room. Because my default is to operate from a place of structure and routine, I always sit in the same space. And when I'm not able to sit in that space, I'm anxious or I'm annoyed. I'm still working through that. I sit down and I check in with myself and I survey all of the places in my body where I feel strain or discomfort. I purposefully check to see if I'm clenching my fist or furrowing my brow. I check the pace of my breath. Sometimes I lie down. I lie down and allow the floor to carry the full weight of my body. I let go of all effort. I allow myself to just be. In my many years of practicing yoga, I've come to appreciate the great privilege it is to have this few minutes to check in with myself even before the formal class starts. When I'm in this space, I'm just the girl that sets up her mat in the front corner of the room, not all of the labels and expectations that society places on me or that I place on myself. When the teacher comes in, I sit up promptly, ready to be a good student and do my best. Yoga classes often begin by setting an intention for what you hope to get out of the practice that day. When it's time for me to set an intention, it's usually something like relax or remember, you are enough. I follow as the teacher guides the class through a series of familiar postures. Despite this familiarity, some postures are still very challenging. I battle against the frustration at the postures that I can't do yet, and the postures I used to be able to do that I can no longer do. I remind myself of my intention. You are enough. As the class reaches its climax, my body starts showing signs of fatigue. I pushed through and wouldn't fathom taking an unsolicited child's pose because I don't give up. I noticed my breath becoming more rapid. I follow the teacher's instruction to breathe intentionally when a posture is particularly challenging. I remind myself of my intention. Relax. Some postures bring me an overwhelming sense of relief. They feel as if stress and worry is literally being wrung out of my body, as if the weight of the world is being lifted off of my shoulders. I notice this feeling, and I breathe it in with joy and gratitude. The practice ends just how it started. I lie down and allow the full weight of my body to sink into the floor. I check in once again to notice where I still might be holding tightness or tension. Sometimes my mind starts to wander. I bring it back, not wanting to lose any of the goodness of these moments. I feel proud that I accomplished my goal of coming to yoga that day, and my body, too, is rejoicing. A few years into my yoga practice, I started to notice the ways in which yoga was changing me. Yoga taught me to be in the moment and to accept things as they are, not as they were, or as I may wish them to be. Yoga taught me to embrace stillness and the opportunity to check in with myself. Yoga taught me to breathe. The breath is your life source and your anchor. Through yoga, I developed a practice of observing my breath in periods of ease and struggle, and learned to slow down my breath in moments of struggle. Yoga taught me self-awareness. It taught me to observe my body, my mind, and my emotions. I noticed how I react in the face of challenge and how my mind can vacillate, sometimes unpredictably, from peace to chaos. Yoga taught me patience. Every day I walk into the yoga studio is different, and every day I wake up and take on life is different. There are many roads to a singular destination, and sometimes an unpredictable road can take you to a beautiful place that you never knew existed. Yoga taught me to let go. It taught me to let go of rigid expectation of what I thought would be or expectation of what I think may come. It taught me to let go of things that don't serve me, like situations, people, or even my own thoughts. Yoga taught me to be flexible. Yoga is not only about flexibility on the mat, but the ability to adjust to life. Yoga taught me to find my edge, to work within that space, and be stretched and grown. A flexible body led to a flexible spirit, and a flexible spirit led me to be less resistant and more tolerant of unexpected life events and challenges. Finally, yoga taught me to trust myself. Through yoga, I became more closely aligned with my sense of intuition and developed a confidence in being able to listen to that intuition and not the distracting chatter of the world around me. It's easy to look around and see that I'm not the only one that's jumped on the yoga bandwagon. There's a yoga studio on every corner, yoga YouTube channels, yoga magazines, yoga apps. In fact, yoga is one of the top 10 complementary and alternative approaches used by adults in the United States. In 2012, 21 million people stated that they had used yoga for their health in the past year. Yoga has health benefits, including reducing stress, depression and anxiety, improving attention and concentration, physical fitness, strength, and flexibility. As I started to really think about the ways in which I was personally benefiting from my yoga practice, I started to wonder how people in my clinical practice might also benefit from the skills that I learned in yoga. In my clinical practice, I treat adult women who are experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety. Most of the women I treat are highly functioning and just need some extra support and coping skills to get through the day-to-day challenges of life. A few years ago, I treated someone who was feeling stressed after recently having had a baby. She'd had a traumatic birth and delivered early, and her baby spent 2 months in the NICU. At the point in which she came to me, her baby was 9 months old and healthy, but she was extremely anxious because things were not going according to her plan. This woman had been a professional athlete, and after her athletic career ended, she went to law school, she married her high school sweetheart, she got her first choice job, and now she was having her first child. By her own report, she had always gotten everything she wanted, but not now. Now things were out of control. She was plagued with self-blame and guilt that she had not given her son the grand entry into the world that she had imagined. She feared that she had already ruined his life by not getting him off to the best start, despite having information from her doctors that he was progressing well. She panicked every time he moved, with the fear that he would do something to hurt himself or she would hurt him. She was so blinded by fear and worry that she could not see her healthy, happy son in front of her. She was clinging relentlessly to the storybook delivery that she thought she would have and judging herself for her inability to meet her own unrealistic expectations. This woman is not unlike many I see in my therapy practice. Anxiety disorders are among the most common psychiatric conditions, with about 1 in 5 people meeting criteria for an anxiety disorder at some point in their life. Women are 60% more likely. Over the course of therapy, we worked together to develop an awareness about her fears and worries, that she wasn't and wouldn't be a good enough mom, and the ways in which this fear impacted her behavior. by preventing her from allowing her son to explore his environment, and from her from seeing the moments of joy that were surrounding her every day. Eventually, she learned to slow down, to allow herself to just be, and to be less reactive and more responsive. She let go of her storybook delivery and accepted what was before her, and she got better. It's easy to become blinded by the stories we tell ourselves about how things should have been or how we imagine that things will be. We can become burdened by expectations set by ourselves or the world. Our active, wandering minds can get in the way of us noticing and appreciating what is right before us. What would it be like if we were to start each day by setting an intention? If we were to set an intention, set it free, and wait openly for it to come back to us? How would your life be different if you created moments of stillness to check in with yourself and truly get to know yourself? How would it feel to let go of expectation, allow yourself to just be, and accept yourself as you are? What would it mean to trust that your path is the right path and the only path for you? Yoga was my vehicle to cultivating greater self-awareness, but what might open your spirit to discovering your true life intention and noticing the possibility within you and around you every day? I'll end by sharing my favorite intentions in my yoga practice with you. Relax and know that you are enough.